I'd like to run through the gingerbread house with you. So this is a great little project, really useful too, and it's very, very simple. So if you are a complete beginner to embroidery, this is a great project for your first project. It's also very simple to construct, and you've got lots of little people with it on the panel as well, so you can practice. So a lot of the stitches, we've got backstitch on there, which is a really easy stitch, but I put a couple of variations in there as well, and I just want to run through those variations so that you can see the difference between them. So we're going to start, I think we'll start actually just with backstitch in case you aren't familiar with it. So all you do with backstitch is you come up through the fabric and move on just a little way. Then you're going to come back up ahead of it, and then you're going to go back to the beginning of the stitch, and then you're going to come up ahead of it, and you're going to go back to the beginning of the stitch. Now don't worry if, like me, your backstitch is a bit wobbly. When I designed this gingerbread house, I wanted it to look as if it'd been hand iced, so if your icing is anything like mine, it's certainly going to be wobbly, so don't worry about that at all, and just continue. So that is your backstitch. So that's the basis of a couple more of the stitches on the house. So let's just pop that needle out the, oh, in fact I'll put it up here so that I don't get involved on the back. So I've got a couple of variations of backstitch here. I've got a laced backstitch and I've got a whipped backstitch. So the laced gives more of a wave effect, whereas the whipped is more of a rope effect. So for lacing, your needle is going to go through your backstitch, and then it's going to come back up the next stitch, and then it's going to go down the next stitch and back up. Make sure I've got the right one there. Back up the next stitch. How much it waves depends on how large your back stitches are, of course, but it's really lovely and gives a really nice variation on that. So that's the laced backstitch. Now whipped backstitch, your needle's always traveling in the same direction. So on this one, my needle's actually going to go from me to you, so over, same again. So the needle point's always traveling in the same direction, so it's a little bit of a rolling effect on there. If you do the wrong one, it really doesn't matter, it's just a choice that you've got there, a little bit of variation for it, and it gives your backstitch a little bit more body as well, so it makes it stand out ever so slightly more, I think. And through the last one, and then you'd finish just by popping your needle down and finishing off as you ordinarily would. You've also got little French knots on here, and I know I've covered French knots so many times, but I really think it's one to just pop in whilst I've got a second, because so many people like a refresher on a French knot. So all you're going to do is you're going to come through and you're going to pull your thread to the side. It's going to keep it relatively taut but not tight, and you're going to wrap your needle. So where I'm sitting, the needle's coming from away from me towards me. A couple of times. You can do as many wraps as you wish, but you just need to be aware that if you wrap more, it won't proportionally get rounder, it'll get taller. So a couple of wraps, and your needle's going to go down close to, but not in the same hole. And you can see then I've pulled the thread quite taut, it's not going anywhere. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep control of this thread as it goes through, and then you've got your French knot. So I think we'll pop one in here, one more of those, thread to the side, a couple of wraps, needle down close to, pull your thread taut at this point, control that thread. Oops, let me get rid of this so you can see. Control that thread as it goes through.